You have roots in Chicago as your mother Rosie was born there. Since you still have family here, what are your memories and what stories would your mother tell you about her roots there?
Oh, well, my mother was born in 1919. She was one of nine children, and
Ah,
she was raised in the Great Depression. She had five brothers who all went to war and they all came back.
good.
And my grandma Sophie was a single mom,
Wow.
and she actually, in the Great Depression, after her husband had hit her and she left. She left with all the children and put them in a horse and buggy. And he came out to try to grab her, and she took the whip and beat him and went off with the children. And one great memory, my mother's favorite memory of Chicago, was that in 19, I think 1933 or 34, the Chicago World's Fair came.
Yep.
And who appeared there but Sally Rand? And she saw the great Sally Rand dance. Ah, ah. So that was her favorite memory. And I'll just tell you, it winds up that years later, she lived in California, and she would go to garage sales because Mama Rosie was always thrifty and she'd want to buy things. And there was this old lady running a garage sale, and there was a playbill of Sally Rand. And Mom picked it up and said, I remember her. She was exquisite. She was so graceful that I ironed clothes to get my daughter dance lessons when she was young. And how much for this? And the woman said, there's no charge. I like the story. What is your daughter's name? And she said, it's Misty. And the lady took a pen and she put to Misty from Sally Rand. So I have that in a silver frame. I've kept that playbill all this year.
So I'm sure you talk about your first big break in the book, but what was your motivating factor in pursuing that break? What kind of pavement did you have to pound coming from the roots that you came from?
And I went out with a guy named Bobby Maloney, and we were in the car. It was my first car date that my parents would let me go in. And he stopped for gas and he said, you're cute, but you're not as pretty as my last girlfriend. And I was just crushed. But he left the radio on when he went to go pump the gas. And this announcer came on and said, you too can be a dancer for the world famous Hollywood Palladium at the Teenage Fair. Send your picture to KBLA Radio and Care Teen Meet magazine. So the whole day, I just remembered KBLA magazine, KBLA magazine. And I got home and I took my 8th grade graduation picture. And my parents were so poor at the time, they couldn't get me a whole picture. They got my 8th grade graduation pictures on these little postage stamp things.
Yeah.
And I put one on a postcard with my name and my phone number, and I mailed it off. And they called for me to audition. And I had to audition with 2,000 other girls. They lined us up in groups of 20s and they played music and they'd go cut, cut, cut. And I was still in the line and I was still on the line. And about 5 o'clock in the afternoon, a man came up to me and said, do you have a social security number? And I said, no, but I could get one. What is it? I didn't even know what a social security number was. They hired me to be one of 7 dancers. And I danced in a tower on Hollywood Boulevard, 50 feet up in the air behind Sonny and Cher, the Bee Gees, and the Young Rascals. So that was my start in showbiz.
But you were talking about rare pictures.
225.
225. Which one, when Scott was doing the digging, was the most surprising, and what is the story behind it?
He found the picture of me posing in Marilyn Monroe's authentic 7-year itch dress. I was in London for the premiere, and the next day I was modeling for a magazine at Madame Tussauds. I was recreating Marilyn Monroe poses And as it came to the end of the shoot, the curator of Madame Tussauds said, Misty, we have Marilyn Monroe's real dress from the 7-year itch. Would you like to model it? I said, yes, I would. And they put on a wind machine and I put on the dress and it's blowing up in the air. And I never got a copy of that. So the fact that Scott England has that in here, I mean, it's unheard of.
You have been defined as a sex symbol throughout your career. When you look at the backlash towards sexism in our current Me Too movement, what advice would you give women who cannot get over the pain of being harassed? And what was the instance, and you don't have to name names, in your career that you had trouble getting over initially?
And get in line. It's just like, you got to have a snappy comeback. You got to keep walking. And I learned early on, do not get in certain situations. You got to have help. You got to talk about it. If it really goes past an appropriate level, you have to speak up. You have to ask people. There were 3 girls in a film, and we were all the leads in the film, and something bad happened to all 3 of us. But not until we got together in a parking lot and talked about it did we take action. I had been raised by nuns in the book, and it was shocking to me, and I was shy, and I just didn't do a lot of things other people did. I wanted to fall in love and have a long relationship, and had several. But maybe because of the way I was, maybe I wasn't as famous or successful as I could have been. But there was just a line I couldn't cross.
I was very happy to see Hee Haw prominently featured in Ken Burns' country music documentary, as the show had such a long influence over its 19 years in various incarnations. What compliment, besides your amazing atmosphere, do you hear about the show the most? And what do you think that compliment is rooted in?
The whole family could gather on Saturday nights and watch the show together. Best musicians in country music,
yes.
Best singers, prettiest girls, and the funniest of it was corny, and everybody loved it. It was clean. It was corny. I was the BR549 girl.
Yes.
Junior sample. For me, it was a godsend, because when you read my book, you'll see the struggles I had. I was living on cornflakes and ketchup soup. And then Hee Haw got me, and my life, it became stable. It became joyful. I bought my first little house. The second year I was on the show. It was a little house, but it was mine. I had some place to live. So that really did save me.
When one of your relatives down the line are reading your book, what do you hope they think about their ancestor and her relationship with your amazing period in show business history?
I hope they say, God, she was a gutsy girl.
All these Hee Haw fans would definitely like to have Misty Memories. Can you give us all the information for the book and anything else you're doing special with it?
The name of the book is Misty Memories, and you can purchase it at Amazon.com. You can also leave a review if you buy the book there. But the book has its own website, MistyRoweBook.com. You can purchase it there. And the book's website, MistyRoweBook.com, you can purchase a Zoom signing. So because I can't go out in person and sign the book during the pandemic, and I want everybody to be safe, my daughter runs the Zoom signings, and I will sign the book in front of the person.
This is Patrick McDonald for HollywoodChicago.com. Copyright 2021.